After my fiancée, whom I saved at the cost of my life, wanted to marry her first love, I quietly supported her decision without making a scene. After the news spread throughout the company that the CEO fiancé I saved at the cost of my life was going to marry her first love and have his child, everyone thought I, as her fiancé, would be furious to the point of madness. But even after their child was born, I never caused any trouble and instead focused on advancing projects for the struggling company. My fiancée thought I had finally recognized that I was just a tool to help her manage the company and smugly promised me, "Seeing how sensibly you're earning money from me and my baby, I'll reluctantly keep you at the company and give you an opportunity to continue taking care of us." But she seemed somewhat presumptuous. I wasn't working for her and the child, but preparing in advance to take over the company next week. From now on, I will no longer compromise as her behind-the-scenes supporter, but will replace her as the new CEO. I had just finished discussing a project with clients and was leaving the meeting room when I saw Jiang Qin changing diapers for his and Shun Wanning's baby at my workstation. "Assistant Jiang, you really have it tough, having to work and take care of the baby at the same time. When CEO Shin finishes her postpartum recovery and returns, she must give you a promotion and raise." That's right, a baby born in the year of the snake is like a little dragon. When the child grows up, they'll surely be exceptional like Assistant Jiang, outstanding talents and pillars of the company. The small room of just 5 square meters was now crowded with colleagues from the project team. This was originally my office, but now it was filled with baby supplies and had become Jiang Qin's nursery at the company. Even the awards I had won for the company that once hung on the wall had been taken down and replaced with photos of the baby from birth to 1 month old. Actually, due to layoffs in recent years, there were quite a few empty rooms in the company. But Jiang Qin insisted that he had consulted a feng shui master who said only my office would be best for the child's development. Anyone could tell this was just a lie that Jiang Qin made up to deliberately provoke me. But Shin Wanning, who had always been firmly materialistic, believed it. She even made me move to a small workstation next to the bathroom, supposedly to block some negative energy for her and Jiang Qin's child. She showed not the slightest guilt about breaking the engagement she had long established with me, and marrying and having a child with Jiang Qin. Coming back to my senses, Jiang Qin also noticed the contract I had just signed in my hand, and smiled as he actively approached me. "I'm really sorry, Director Yi. I've been busy taking care of the baby lately, and Wanting still needs a few more days to see. Complete her postpartum recovery. I've been troubling you to handle business recently, but I'll definitely make your contributions clear to Wanting afterward." Although Jiang Qin was polite with his words, his right hand was dishonestly trying to snatch the signed contract from my hand. Ever since Jiang Qin joined the company a year ago, taking advantage of Shun Wanning's favoritism toward him, he had stolen many projects and achievements from me. Before, I always compromised and tolerated him time and again, considering my feelings for Shun Wanning. But now, since Shun Wanning has already married him, I naturally have no reason to tolerate him anymore, and directly pushed his hand away. "Jiang Qin, you took my fiancée, and now you want to take the contract I negotiated?" Before Jiang Qin could speak, colleagues rushed to defend him. "What do you mean took? Director Yi, your words are too harsh." "Exactly. Assistant Jiang is only too busy taking care of his child and has no time. That's why he had to hand over the projects he took on to you. You're getting the benefits, but still complaining. You're just coasting on others' work. What right do you have to make a fuss?" But I just found it ironic. Yes, this project was indeed brought in by Jiang Qin. That's true. But to secure this project and prove himself, Jiang Qin boasted to the client over drinks, forcibly misquoting the project proposal at 60% of the original price. He may have brought in the business, but he didn't care at all whether it could be implemented. In the end, I had to work overtime to optimize the technology and even paid out of my own pocket to smooth things over with suppliers, barely managing to bring down the costs. Yet somehow it all became credit for Jiang Qin. Seeing that my attitude remained firm, Jiang Qin smiled on the surface, saying as long as the company makes money it's fine, but when no one was looking, he deliberately pinched the baby in his arms. The next moment, following a wailing cry, the baby's mess of urine and feces splattered all over me. Even the contract I had just signed was stained and rendered void. "Oh my manager Yi, I'm so sorry. This is my first time being a father, and I don't have much experience. My hand slipped, please forgive me." Seeing my gloomy expression, the colleagues around naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity to perform in front of Jiang Qin, and all chimed in. "Yi Cheng, are you really picking on a baby that's barely a month old? Have you no shame? With that nasty temper, no wonder President Shen called off your engagement. You can't compare at all to how gentlemanly Assistant Jiang is." When they mentioned the broken engagement, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. Originally, I had been with Shun Wanning for 7 years. We were already engaged and even planning our wedding. But a year ago, Shun Wanning's ex, Jiang Qin, suddenly appeared. He was exception, ally hired into the company by Shun Wanning, and not long after, she hurriedly sent me overseas on a business trip. By the time I returned, I had already heard the news of their shotgun wedding. Rather than a gentleman, the title of a beast in gentleman's clothing suits him better. However, I have urgent matters now and don't have time to argue with them. I calmly took a document from the drawer and threw the diaper that Jiang Qin had just changed and deliberately left on my desk back at him. I'm sorry, I've been working overtime too much lately and my vision is blurry. I meant to throw it in the trash bin, but my hand slipped. Please understand. Instantly, a foul stench wafted from Jiang Qin's expensive suit. Ji Qin's face turned green, but I didn't give them a chance to condemn me. I immediately walked out with the documents, drove to the business administration office, and handed the file to the staff. Please help me register this change in shareholder information. This was the share transfer agreement that Shen Wanning had personally signed 6 months ago, before I went abroad to negotiate a partnership. It transferred all the shares under her name back to me. Actually, the company was founded by me alone, with my own funding and technology, so naturally all the shares were originally mine. Only after the business took off in recent years did I give her 51% of the shares to compensate Shen Wanning for accompanying me through those tough years, fulfilling her dream of being a boss. With the difficult economic environment these past few years and the company facing operational challenges, I decided to take back all the shares, preferring to bear the risks myself rather than let Shen Wanning take on any debt. I originally thought this would be difficult and had prepared a list of excuses to persuade Shen Wanning, worried she might misunderstand and think I had ulterior motives. But when I found Wen Wanning the day before going abroad, she signed without even looking and kept urging me to leave the country as soon as possible. At that time, I asked Wen Wanning if she wasn't afraid that I might cheat her, but she just smiled while helping me pack my luggage, saying we were about to get married and were family, so there was no need to distinguish between mine and hers. At that time, I thought Wen Wanning loved me deeply, so I left on a flight that night, vowing to secure the deal and save the company. But when I successfully secured the order and returned home, Wen Wanning had already married Jiang Qin, and later even gave birth to a chubby baby boy for him. Only then did I realize that she wasn't trusting me at that time, but was already pregnant and in a rush to marry Jiang Qin. She was afraid I would notice something odd if her belly grew larger, which was why she was so eager to sign and urge me to leave. But it's just as well now. At least the company is still in my hands. Hey. After verifying that the agreement was correct, the staff suddenly asked, Mr. Yi, for such an important matter as share transfer, why didn't Miss Shun come along? I shook my head calmly. She's still in postpartum recovery. Hearing this, the staff member was startled at first, then congratulated me on becoming a father, cheerfully helping me process the public announcement procedures for the share transfer. But I couldn't bring myself to smile, because I was neither the child's father nor her husband. While I was spacing out waiting for the approval, my phone suddenly rang. It was Shen Wanning calling. As soon as I answered, a barrage of shouting came through from the other end. Ji Qin just stained the contract. You could have asked the client for a favor to sign it again. Why did you get so angry at the company? You even scared the baby. Before Shen Wanning could finish her tirade, the staff member had already brought over the paperwork for me to sign. Signing. Yi Cheng, it's still working hours. Where have you gone instead of being at the company? After signing, I finally explained. Signing an agreement. On the other end of the call, Shen Wanning paused. Then her tone softened considerably. That's more like it. Considering how eagerly you're earning money from me and my child, I'll reluctantly keep you in the company, giving you an opportunity to take care of us, mother and child. But I wasn't listening to what she was saying at all. Looking at the new list of shareholders before me, with myself holding 91% of the shares and becoming the genuine president of the company, I couldn't help but laugh. On the other end of the phone, Shen Wanning misunderstood, thinking I was overwhelmed with gratitude toward her, and smugly said, Look at how pleased you are. Keep up the good work, and when I return from the maternity center, I might consider giving you a promotion and a raise. After a few more instructions, Shen Wanning hung up with a smile. But she didn't know that once the 2-day review period passes, I would be the new president of the company. I wonder if she'll still be able to smile then. After firmly taking back my company, I felt relieved and went home first, planning to pack my belongings and completely part ways with Shen Wanning. But as soon as I opened the door, a musty smell of mildew hit me right in the crown of my head. Shen Wanning had been in the hospital taking care of her pregnancy for a while, and after giving birth, she went to a postpartum care center. With me away on business trips, this home had probably been unattended for nearly half a year. I was about to open the windows to air out the smell when I suddenly tripped as I walked into the living room. That's when I discovered a large picture frame thrown on the floor. When I picked it up and looked, I realized it was the wedding photo that Shen Wanning and I had taken. Calm. To think of it, after we got engaged, it was Shen Wanning who insisted on dragging me to the photo studio for a photo shoot. Shen Wanning had me try on almost 40 suits, never quite satisfied, and spent an entire afternoon before finally selecting a white suit that met her approval. Although it wasn't a style I particularly liked, considering that Shen Wanning had spent the whole afternoon choosing it for me, I accepted it gladly. The earnestness in her eyes at that time remains vivid in my memory even today. Coming back to the present, I wiped the dust off the frame, feeling somewhat confused. I've always kept our wedding photo hanging in the bedroom, so why was it thrown on the living room floor? As soon as I walked into the bedroom, I immediately understood what had happened. Above the headboard now hung a wedding photo of Shen Wanning and Jiang Qin. In the picture, Shen Wanning was visibly pregnant, held in Jiang Qin's embrace, smiling like a little girl who had just received the whole world. And they were wearing the wedding dress and suit that Shen Wanning had so carefully selected that day. It suddenly dawned on me why she had spent the entire afternoon trying on suits and was never satisfied, finally choosing a white suit that was completely unsuitable for me. As it turns out, it was never meant for me in the first place. Over the years, my skin had darkened from constant business trips outdoors, exposed to sun and wind. When Shen Wanning picked that pure white suit for me, it naturally looked out of place on my body. But Jiang Qin had always stayed in the company assisting Shen Wanning, with his fair and delicate skin and refined demeanor. Wearing that white suit, it made Jiang Qin look exactly like a Prince Charming from a storybook. I smiled sarcastically, preparing to pack up my belongings and then sell the house. This house was originally prepared by my parents as our marital home. Since we weren't getting married anymore, there was naturally no need to keep it. It would be better to sell it to ease the company's tight cash flow. But when I opened the closet, I couldn't help but clench my fists. In the wardrobe, all of my things were gone, replaced by shirts that Jiang Qin often wore. I sent a message directly to Shen Wanning, demanding to know the whereabouts of my clothes. It wasn't until a quarter of an hour later that Shen Wanning replied. Of course I threw them all away. Jiang Qin's rental apartment was too far from the company, so I let him move in directly. He has germophobia and couldn't use your things, so I threw them all away. Anyway, these things were bought with the salary I paid you, so they were all my money to begin with. I don't need your permission to decide how to deal with them, do I? I have to say, when it comes to twisted logic, Shen Wanning has always been quite talented. Seeing that I had no response, Shen Wanning sent an off. Her message. What's wrong? Feeling sorry for your junk. I heard about what happened at the company this morning. If you quietly hand over the project to Jiang Qin, I'll buy you a set of high-end goods, and even leave you a storage room to rest in. No thanks. Before Shen Wanning could finish typing her message, I directly blocked her WeChat and called a scrap collector to clear out everything in the house. I then found a real estate agency to list the house for sale and went to stay at a hotel. Early the next morning, the scrap collector transferred me the money. Although it was priced at just 3 cents per pound as waste, it still earned me quite a bit of money. This showed how much Shen Wanning cared about Jiang Qin, as if she couldn't wait to buy the whole world for him. Just as I was about to get up and wash, Shen Wanning suddenly called. Yi Cheng, who allowed you to sell our marital home? Where are Jiang Qin and the child supposed to live now? And what about his designer suits and gaming consoles? Where did you throw them away to? On the other end of the phone, Shen Wanning was so angry she could barely breathe. But I found it ironic. My belongings could be casually thrown away, yet Jiang Qin's things were treated as precious treasures. I calmly said, so you acknowledge it was our marital home? Since you've already married Jiang Qin, what's wrong with me selling it? As for the things in the house, naturally they were all sold as scrap. On the other end of the phone, Shen Wanning was silenced by my words, but soon, she suddenly gave a contemptuous laugh. Yi Cheng, you think I have no options just because you sold the house? Don't think I don't know that you're playing hard to get, using these little tricks to get my attention. Know your place. You're just a tool working for me. Don't aspire to things you shouldn't. With that, Shen Wanning hung up the phone. Almost at the same time, Jiang Qin also updated his social media status. It was a photo of him signing a contract at a real estate agency. He specifically added the caption, "Finally, I have a place of my own in this city." Jiang Qin was just an assistant at the company with a modest monthly salary, and given his habitually extravagant spending habits, he certainly couldn't afford to buy a house on his own. Obviously, Shen Wanning had put up the money to buy back the house I had just listed for sale. And Jiang Qin's deliberate social media post was clearly meant to show off to me. But not only was I not angry, I almost couldn't hold back my laughter. Although housing prices had fallen quite a bit over the years, since I had bought early, I had still made a profit overall. In fact, it was Shen Wanning who had essentially handed over all the money the company had earned over the past 2 years to me. A deteriorating house that would only continue to lose value. Yet, Jiang Qin was treating it like a treasure. I treated myself to a lavish meal to celebrate, something I hadn't done in a long time. The business registration office also sent me a message notifying me that the review of my equity transfer had been approved. I was happily preparing to go back and take over the company, but as soon as I went through the door, I ran into Shen Wanning. "Why are you here? Aren't you?" Before I could finish, Shin Wanning suddenly gave me a slap with a cold face. Yi Chung, as a senior employee, is this how you set an example? Absent without leave for 2 consecutive days. You're simply a bad influence. I worked so hard running this company, not for you to slack off and collect a paycheck. Starting tomorrow, all your performance bonuses for the next year will be cleared, and you won't be a director anymore. Go assist Jiang Qin and learn how to be a decent person. Hearing Shin Wanning's punishment for me, the mockery from colleagues around me was not concealed at all. After all, the company was only so big, and with Jiang Qin's exaggerations, I had long become the target of public criticism. However, the absence Shin Wanning mentioned was completely groundless. A month ago, I had already applied for a week of field work to pursue business opportunities, which didn't require me to be in the office or clock in. This was even personally approved by her. To put it bluntly, it was just an excuse that Shin Wanning deliberately made up to help Jiang Qin vent her anger. Seeing that I remained silent with my head lowered, Shin Wanning immediately frowned. Yi Chung, I'm talking to you, are you deaf? Don't you see the child has soiled his pants? Hurry up and help Jiang Qin clean it up. Do you want to suffocate the entire company? But I still didn't move. After all, I was now the boss of this company. Before I could speak, Jiang Qin took the first step to pretend to be the good person. Wanning, don't be angry. Brother Yi Chung must be exhausted from running business errands these past few days. I'm young and have energy. It's no problem for me to take care of the child while working. But before he could move, Shin Wanning stopped him with concern. No need. You've been on paternity leave and taking care of the child for these few months. You've lost weight from exhaustion. Besides, you've just been promoted, and you've been assigned a project. Focus on preparing your speech first. You'll need to attend the press conference later. As for him, since he still wants to stay in the company, let him do some hard work. It will cure his laziness and show him how difficult it was for you to take care of the child before. Looking at the concern in Wan Ningxin's eyes for Qin Jiang, I just felt it was absurd. Qin Jiang was nothing but all talk. During work hours, he would dump both childcare and work responsibilities on colleagues who read to please him, while he hid in his office eating fried chicken and playing games. And over these years, when the company wasn't doing well, I frequently had to go out to secure business myself. Even when I had a car accident before, I didn't go to the hospital, but rushed to the client's company to sign the contract first. Even the clients were impressed by my dedication. Yet in her words, I had become a lazy person reaping benefits without effort. Love and indifference were truly too obvious. Coming back to my senses, I stared straight at Wan Ningxin and said firmly without arrogance or servility. I remember that the company handbook clearly states that bringing babies to disrupt the workplace is not allowed, right? Besides, I've already applied for field work in advance, so I don't need to be in the office or clock in. You have no right to find me. In 7 years, this was probably the first time I openly contradicted Shin Wanning. Shin Wanning was momentarily stunned, but quickly gave a disdainful smile. Yi Chung, I admit, you have indeed caught my attention, but you're using the wrong approach. I am the CEO of this company. If I say you're absent without leave, then you're absent without leave. As for those projects and client information in your hands, I've already had people back them up. Do you really think you're so irreplaceable? HR, prepare the termination letter and also notify all the major companies we cooperate with to put him on the employment blacklist. Just as HR was about to move, I directly stopped them. No need. I've already prepared my termination letter. Jiang Qin immediately broke into a smile, but still pretended to look regretful. Brother Yi Chung, why are you doing this to yourself? Why don't you apologize to Wan Ning? She's so kind. Considering you've taken care of her for several years, I'm sure she'll make an exception and save you a job cleaning toilets and unclogging drains. Beside us, Shen Wan Ning watched me stop HR, her chin raised so high it might as well have been pointing at the sky. I didn't expect you to be so self-aware. How about this? Considering you're such a useful dog, as long as you voluntarily give up. Before Shen Wan Ning could finish, I interrupted her directly, throwing 2 termination notices to her and Jiang Qin. Enough. There's no need for this nonsense. You can get out now. Looking at her own termination notice, Shen Wan Ning was stunned momentarily, then sneered. What authority do you have as an employee to fire me? I smiled calmly and pulled out the public notice of share transfer and changes. Ms. Shun, no. Ms. Shun, you really do forget important matters easily, don't you? Look carefully. I'm now the CEO of the company. As for you and Jiang Qin, due to violating company regulations, disrupting workplace order, and privately stealing confidential company project INF formation, you are fired effective immediately. Looking at the share transfer information written in black and white on the notice, Shen Wanning's face instantly drained of color. Her pupils constricted, as if she had seen a ghost, pointing at me in disbelief. Yi Chung, when did you become the CEO? But soon, as if she thought of something, she suddenly let out a cold laugh and snatched the notice from my hand. tearing it to shreds. Yi Cheng, you've grown quite bold, haven't you? Just photoshopping an image from the internet and adding a fake seal. You think you can intimidate me? Who do you think you are? You really think you're something special? She looked at me like I was a clown, the corners of her mouth curling into a mocking smile. Jiang Qin also immediately reacted, squeezing a worried expression onto his face, hypocritically stepping forward. Brother Yi Cheng, I know you're upset, but you can't do this. Forging company documents is illegal. You could go to jail for this. If you don't want to resign, I could help plead with wanting for you. Why take this crooked path? His well-intentioned advice prompted surrounding colleagues to chime in. Yeah, Yi Cheng, have you lost your mind? You really think you could be the CEO? A toad wanting to eat swan meat. I think he's gone crazy after being provoked by Director Shun and Deputy Director Jiang. TSK. Now he's not only lost his job, but also might be locked up for a few years. Looking at these people's faces, I felt a chill in my heart. I originally thought they were just blinded by Shun Wanning and Jiang Qin's facade, temporarily taking the wrong side. Now I see I was too naive. These people are nothing but opportunists without any judgment, bending whichever way the wind blows. No wonder the company's performance has been declining over the years. With a group of employees who only know how to fight internally and brown nose, how could things be good? They're all parasites, scum. Keeping them around will only lead to disaster sooner or later. I laughed coldly inside, my gaze sweeping sharply across those colleagues who were still chattering away. Oh, it seems you all would like to experience being fired as well. Is that right? My voice wasn't loud, but it carried an undeniable chill. The few people who had just been mocking me suddenly became like ducks with their throats squeezed, instantly falling silent. Seeing this, Shun Wanning thought I was bluffing and challenging her authority. Yi Cheng, you dare threaten my employees. I think you've truly gone mad. She pulled out her phone and dialed the police directly. Hello? Officer? This is Ruijin Building. Someone here is forging company documents, disrupting office order, and threatening employees. Please come quickly to handle this. After hanging up, Shin Wanning held her chin even higher, as if already envisioning the sorry sight of me being taken away by the police. Jiang Qin also fanned the flames from the sideline. Brother Yi Cheng, if you apologize to Wanning now, she might soften her heart. I just watched their performance with cold eyes, without saying a word. Soon, 2 uniformed police officers walked in. Who called the police? What's happening here? The older police officer asked in a deep voice. Shun Wanning immediately welcomed them like seeing saviors, pointing at me with an agitated tone. Officer, it's him. He was fired by the company, but he wouldn't accept it, so he forged some kind of CEO notice, caused a big scene here, and even threatened to fire other colleagues. He seriously disrupted our company's normal operations. Please take him away immediately. As she spoke, she cast a smug glance at me, her eyes full of "you're finished" implications. Yi Cheng, did you hear that? The police officers are here. If you kneel down and beg me now, with a good attitude, I might help plead with the police for you. Write a letter of understanding, so you'll get a reduced sentence. Looking at her smug and foolish expression, I almost laughed out loud. I calmly turned to the police officers, handing them my ID and another intact copy of the company announcement. Officer, I am Yi Cheng, the new legal representative and CEO of this company. This is my identification and the business registration change notice that just took effect today. You can verify it in the official system. I pointed at Shun Wanning and Jiang Qin. As for these two, they have been formally dismissed by me for serious violations of company regulations and suspected theft of company secrets. They were just given their termination letters. They refused to accept the dismissal decision and instead tore up company documents here, shouting loudly and interfering with other employees' work. The older police officer took my credentials and documents, while the younger officer beside him took out his police terminal to verify the information. Shin Wanning remained dismissive and scoffed. Officers, don't believe him. Those are all fake. Photoshop. I am the CEO. He's just an employee who was fired. A few seconds later, the young police officer looked up, nodded to the older officer, and then walked towards me. Shin Wanning immediately smiled smugly. But the next moment, the police officer took out cold handcuffs, and with a click sound, fastened them on Shun Wanning's wrist. Shin Wanning was completely dumbfounded, her mind blank. She looked down at the metal on her wrist, then suddenly looked up at the police officer, her face full of absurdity and disbelief. Off, officer, what are you doing? Why are you handcuffing me? You've got the wrong person. It's him. Yi Cheng is the one disturbing order. You should be handcuffing him. Jiang Qin also panicked and hurriedly explained. Officer, is there a mistake? Wanning is the company's CEO. We have employees who can testify. The older police officer remained expressionless, his tone without a hint of fluctuation. We have already verified the facts. He waved the police device in his hand, with the screen clearly displaying the company's latest legal representative information. According to the latest public information in the business registration system, Mr. Yi Chung is indeed the legitimate CEO of this company now. Since you two have been dismissed, you should not remain in the company causing trouble and disrupting normal office order. Now please come with us to the station to cooperate with a written record regarding the obstruction of official duties and disruption of unit order. As he spoke, he signaled the young police officer, who also put handcuffs on Jiang Qin, who hadn't yet come to his senses. For a moment, all colleagues watched this scene with their mouths agape, their jaws nearly dropping to the floor. After a while, Shen Wanning suddenly struggled, staring at me like a madwoman. Yi Chung, what exactly have you done to me? My company. How did my company become yours? When did you make your move? You despicable person. I'll sue you. I'll take you to court for commercial occupation. For fraud. Jiang Qin's face was also extremely unpleasant. He forced himself to stay calm, looked at me, and spoke with a barely noticeable tremor in his voice. Brother Yi Chung, stop this now. It's still not too late to admit your mistake. Forging documents, seizing company assets. If these charges are proven, you won't be looking at just a year or two behind bars. Listening to their so-called warnings, I found it laughable. Even now, they still thought I had used some underhanded methods? I gave a cold laugh and slowly took out another document from my briefcase. It was the share transfer agreement that Shen Wanning had previously signed. I turned directly to the last page and displayed the signature section in front of Shen Wanning. There, her name, Shen Wanning, was signed clearly and unmistakably. Ms. Shun, oh no, Ms. Shun. It seems you truly are a person who forgets important matters. This share transfer agreement. You were actually in a hurry back then, begging me to help you clean up your mess, pleading with me to sign it. It's in black and white. Take a good look at it yourself. My tone was calm, yet carried a hint of mockery. Shen Wanning immediately lost her composure. Yi Chung, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You dug this trap and waited for me to fall in. I trusted you so much before. I handed the company over to you to manage. Is this how you repay me? Looking at her distorted face, I could only feel speechless. Trust me? Using me as a backup, as a tool, enjoying my dedication while secretly involved with Jiang Qin. Was this her idea of trust? She was foolish enough to sign documents without reading them, and now it's my fault? Miss Shun, you may eat carelessly, but you shouldn't speak carelessly. It's in black and white. You signed it yourself. Did I force you? Did I trick you by saying it was a different document? My calmness completely infuriated Shen Wanning. I'll kill you, you thief. Like a madwoman, she broke free from the young police officer who hadn't yet reacted and lunged at me with claws outstretched. Her nails were sharp, seemingly intent on leaving several marks on my face. Unfortunately, she overestimated herself and underestimated the police officer's reaction speed. The older officer took a stride forward and with a quick twist firmly restrained her. Let me go? Let me go. He's a fraud. He stole my company. You should arrest him. Shen Wanning continued to struggle frantically, cursing wildly. The older officer frowned deeply, clearly having lost his patience. Take her away, he commanded in a low voice, no longer paying attention to Shen Wanning's cries. The younger officer quickly moved forward as well, and together they flanked the still twisting and struggling Shen Wanning, dragging her out without mercy. Jiang Qin's face turned ashen as he was escorted by another officer, following behind with an empty gaze. He seemed to want to say something, his mouth opening slightly, but in the end it only turned into a dejected sigh. Click. The glass door of the office closed behind them, cutting off all sound. After a brief dead silence, the crowd began to stir. Mr. Yi, I knew you were no ordinary person. I could always tell that Shen Wanning and Jiang Qin were up to no good. They've been putting you down all this time. We all saw it, and it pained our hearts. Yes, Shen Wanning and Jiang Qin used their higher positions to bully everyone. We had to go along with them, or we couldn't even keep our jobs. That's right, we've actually been on your side all along. Please be magnanimous and don't hold it against us. All at once, various voices pledging loyalty, shifting blame, and begging for mercy rose and fell. I slowly opened my mouth, my voice not loud, but clearly reaching every corner of the office. Are you all finished speaking? The clamor came to an abrupt halt. Everyone anxiously looked at me. Those who just now followed Shen Wanning in personally attacking me and disrupting company order, as well as those who have been two-faced, secretly funneling benefits to Jiang Qin and lining your own pockets. You're all fired. Starting now, pack your things and leave the company immediately. The entire office instantly erupted into chaos. Yi Chung, don't go too far. We've all worked at this company for so many years. Even if we don't have great achievements, we've put in hard work. That's right. You think you can just fire us like that? What about compensation? According to labor law, if you fire us without cause, you have to give us 2 in severance pay. With so many of us, if you dare to act recklessly, we'll collectively file a labor arbitration complaint against you. We'll make it impossible for your company to operate for even one day. The crowd that had been submissive just moments ago suddenly became agitated. Relying on their numbers, they thought that since I had just taken over the company, I certainly wouldn't dare to escalate the situation or antagonize so many people at once. I calmly asked in return, "Who told you that I'm firing you without cause? Do you really think that the things you've done were so perfect that nobody would find out?" As I spoke, I took out a black USB drive from my briefcase, walked to the computer at the head of the conference room, and plugged it in. The projector lit up, and folders quickly appeared on the snow-white screen. I casually opened one. Inside were shockingly detailed account statements, email screenshots, and even several secretly recorded surveillance videos. The content directly implicated several department heads present, who had colluded with Jiangqin to abuse their positions, falsify project expenses, take kickbacks, and continuously funnel the company's profits outward for their personal gain. I didn't stop there, but continued opening several more folders. Each folder corresponded to a different group of people. Some had used their procurement authority to accept bribes from suppliers. Others had leaked the company's core technical materials to competitors. Some had used company resources to take on private jobs outside. Each case was more shocking than the last. The entire office fell silent, with only the humming of the projector fan remaining. I had grown suspicious early on when Jiangqin parachuted into the company and profits began to decline abnormally. A man who lived off women couldn't possibly erode the company's profits so severely in such a short time, even with Shun Wanning's backing. I secretly investigated for a long time before discovering this web of corruption woven by Jiangqin, which unexpectedly implicated so many middle and high-level executives in the company. They colluded with and covered for each other, forming a huge community of shared interests, eating away at the company's foundation like termites. No wonder Shun Wanning was so easily marginalized before. No wonder Jiangqin could act with impunity in the company. Looking at the evidence switching on the screen, those who had just been clamoring for compensation and threatening to sue me turned pale one by one. "I'm giving you one last chance. Now, voluntarily submit your resignation, pack your things, and get out immediately. I can pretend nothing happened, and none of this will appear at the police station, if you insist on dragging this out with me." I waved the USB drive in my hand, my voice ice cold, devoid of any emotion. "Then we'll see each other in court." After these words fell, there was silence for a moment, as the first person threw away their ID badge, head lowered, walking unsteadily toward their workstation. Then, the second, the third. More and more people, like avoiding a plague, began silently packing up their personal belongings, with no one daring to mention compensation anymore. In less than half an hour, the once bustling office became completely empty. Only 7 or 8 people remained standing in place. I remembered them. When I was being constantly obstructed by Jiangqin, it was they who had helped me, either openly or discreetly. Though few in number, they were enough. The company needed downsizing anyway. Cutting out these parasites was perfect. It also saved a substantial amount in severance pay. Looking at these few who stayed, I showed my first genuine smile since taking over the company. From today, this is our new beginning. Everyone, keep your spirits up. The road ahead is still long. Let's work hard together. After a few simple words of encouragement and arranging subsequent work, I immersed myself in the mountain of documents. Cleaning house was just the first step. Next, there were many messes waiting for me to sort out. Without realizing it, the night outside had grown deep. People in the office left one after another, until only I remained. Rubbing my throbbing temples, I looked at the empty office and sighed. It seemed tonight I would have to make do with the office sofa. Just as I stood up to find a blanket, the glass door of the office was suddenly pushed open from outside. I instinctively looked up. At the doorway stood a familiar figure. It was Shun Wanning. I furrowed my brow, my voice lacking warmth. "What are you doing here?" Shun Wanning wore a cautious, ingratiating smile I had never seen before. She was carrying an elegant insulated container and walked in. I brought you something to eat." She placed the container on my desk and gently opened it. Several home-cooked dishes steamed with warmth, their aroma instantly filling the room. "I see you working so late. Too much takeout food isn't good for your health." Her voice was very soft, carrying a deliberately gentle tone. I could no longer remember when I had last eaten a meal she cooked with her own hands. Once upon a time, when we first started our business, we rented a cramped apartment. Every day we were so busy we could barely see straight, not even having time to eat. She would do this same thing then, preparing various dishes for me, bringing them to me. While muttering, "Health is the foundation of revolution," she would watch me devour the food with concern in her eyes. Back then, there was a light in her eyes, hope for the future, and also for me. I shook my head, dispelling those untimely memories. Seeing me silent for so long, just staring at the food, A glimpse of secret delight flashed through Shun Wanning's eyes. She thought that my emotional defenses had been pried open by this bowl of home-cooked food. Acheng, I know I was wrong before. It's all because of that bastard Jiang Qin. He deceived me with his sweet talk and blinded my heart. I can see his true colors now. I'm suing him for divorce. Once we're divorced, that wedding apartment, I'll return it to you right away. Acheng, can you give me one more chance, please? She reached out to touch my arm, her eyes pitifully pleading. Seeing that I didn't answer, she picked up her chopsticks again, grabbed a plump shrimp, and held it up to my mouth. I was just too impatient before. Please eat while it's hot. The shrimp is very fresh. Eat more to nourish yourself. Her movements were so natural, as if we were still that inseparable couple from before. But unfortunately, there was no going back. I stared at her coldly, looking at the shrimp just inches away, and directly knocked the chopsticks out of her hand. Shin Wanning's hand froze in midair, the smile on her face instantly freezing. She looked at me in disbelief, her eyes quickly welling up with tears. Does it not taste good? I twisted my lips into a mocking smile. Shin Wanning, have you forgotten? I've been taking medication for my stomach problems lately. The doctor specifically instructed that I cannot eat seafood. Otherwise, it could cause drug poisoning. The color drained completely from Shun Wanning's face in an instant. I'm sorry. Acheng, I forgot. I really didn't mean to. I was just careless for a moment. Forgot? I laughed coldly to myself. It wasn't that she forgot. She never remembered in the first place. After all, during the worst period of my stomach illness, all she had eyes and heart for was Jiang Qin. When had she ever cared whether I lived or died? Shin Wanning continued to apologize frantically. I'm sorry. I'll order new takeout for you right now. What would you like to eat? Some mild millet porridge? Or something soothing for your stomach? I interrupted her, my voice completely devoid of emotion. Don't bother. Shin Wanning's entire body trembled, her tears finally breaking through like a collapsing dam. She clutched my legs desperately, crying with heart-wrenching sobs. I was wrong. I truly realized my mistake. Please, forgive me just this once. The baby, I've already taken care of it, as if it never existed. It won't be an obstacle between us anymore. And Jiang Qin, I've already reported all his despicable deeds to the police. The evidence is conclusive. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. He won't disturb us anymore. Acheng. She looked up at me with tear-filled eyes, expectantly. As long as you forgive me and let me return to your side, I'll do anything. Really, anything at all. But I only felt my stomach churning violently. To win me back, she could actually do such a terrible thing to her own child and betray her former lover without hesitation. What wouldn't a person like this be capable of doing? I forcefully pulled my hand away from hers, stepping back to create distance between us. Looking at her kneeling on the ground, her face distorted by tears, I felt nothing but endless disgust. Soon, 2 security guards rushed in, grabbing her by the arms on both sides, forcibly dragging her out. Only after her figure disappeared through the doorway did the office return to silence. After that night, I never saw Shin Wanning again. I threw all my energy into the company, cleaning up the mess, reshaping corporate culture, expanding into new business areas. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. The company gradually emerged from the quagmire, regaining its footing in the industry, even becoming more stable than before. When I next heard news of Shin Wanning, it was through a police report. Apparently, Jiang Qin had been granted early parole for good behavior in prison. His first act upon release was to find Shin Wanning, who was working at a small restaurant. With a fruit knife, he ended her life. The reason? Perhaps he hated her for backstabbing him back then. When I heard this news, I was signing a new cooperation agreement. In my heart, there wasn't much of a stir, just a faint, almost imperceptible sigh. In this bustling world, passionate men and resentful